Hi Jackson, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Good, thanks. Quite an exciting end to the season for you guys. I take it you're just chomping at the bit at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be, at this point in the season, still have so much to play for. Just everybody's still feeling really fresh and enthused to get into this last period of the season where there's still, so much for us to achieve.
Take it this is exactly why you wanted to be at Hibs.
Oh, absolutely. This was one of the main reasons. After speaking with the manager, and it was such an attractive place to be, where there's an ambitious group that are looking to constantly push themselves further and achieve more all the time. And we've got a great opportunity to do that this Saturday if we can pick up a positive result and take another step towards cementing that third place.
I know the manager is quite keen to tie you down a longer term contract. Are you happy with your time here? Are you looking forward to securing your future?
This is just, that's exactly the way it is at the moment. We're having those conversations, but we're fully focused on the games ahead. There's, as you say, still so much for us to play for, and we're not really looking any further than the next game, which tomorrow for us is massive. And then those conversations will continue to take place, and I'm sure that will get sorted at some point.
Thanks.
Jackson, there's been another incident with an unsavoury incident, player potentially being abused at the side of a pitch last night. Without speaking on that in general, what is it like on the pitch just now? And do you think that the players' attitudes have changed to what's going on in social, what's happening socially as well has changed over the last few years?
I think there's a number of, probably, without getting too deep on the issue in terms of where we are as a society, but I think it's just we're at a point now where people are more comfortable to speak out when people are being suffering these horrendous abuses, and these voices now are being listened to and heard. And as a society, we need to stand up and take notice and take action and do something about it and make real change. And the footballing world has obviously played a big role in that in recent times, and we will continue to do so, because the power we have as players and clubs can really make a difference in an attitude change, which is desperately needed.
Football can have quite a formidable voice, can't it, whenever it's speaking about these things? Could they be doing more as a whole? I know clubs try to do themselves the best themselves, players try and do it through the PFA, etc. But in general, can football be more of a voice against these sort of acts?
I think, individually and collectively, as organisations and clubs and higher bodies, I think we all need to look at what we can do better. That's all we can continue to do. Continue to push those higher bodies to take more steps in eradicating these kinds of incidents. But I think that there's always more you can do as individuals and collectively to try and make a difference, and hopefully can look back on your time as a player and say that you were part of a positive contribution to a time where, as you say, a real social attitude change is hopefully going to take place.
And finally, from me, going back to what Sheila was talking about, you yourself staying potentially at Hibs next season. Europe through to Christmas would be a big carrot to dangle in front of you, would it not? Because yes, it's going to bring a fair bit of finances to the club, but it's also going to put a lot of players on and give them a much higher profile, because they're going to be playing on a much larger stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, European football is an attractive prospect for any player, but as I continue to say, we haven't, sealed the deal yet. There's still games to be played and things to be achieved in the next few weeks, and our full focus still has to be on, we've got a few wrongs to put right, with the teams we're up against, and we need to be focused on those performances. Absolutely.
Win tomorrow though, and you're guaranteed third place, I think, or very close to it anyway.
Very close, yeah. I think if we have to better Aberdeen's result, but we're just focusing on ourselves, looking at our own performance, and with, as you say, as I was saying, where although the quarterfinal was a great achievement for us, there were still parts of the game that we need to improve on, and we're under no illusions of how difficult the game tomorrow will be, and we know we're going to need to be bang at it to be able to pick up a result.
Thanks, Jackson. Good luck.
Cheers. Thank you.
Jackson, it was obviously the last. So tomorrow's opponent, St Johnstone, you played them at Hampden. How pleased are you at yourself and as a squad to get back to Hampden and potentially sort of rectify a disappointing last turnout at Hampden?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of the wrongs to put right. As I mentioned before, got another opportunity. It's the club's third semi-final this season, and another great opportunity to put ourselves into a cup final. Another trip back to Hampden, and we're doing everything we can to prepare properly for that as well. But even I still feel like the game tomorrow is equally as important to give us that that confidence moving forward that we can go and pick up these results and win these big games, which we have shown we can do, and we need to continue to do over the next week, 8 days.
And obviously it's been tough with lockdown and stuff, but after a few years away in England, how have you settled back in Scotland? Yeah,
amazing. It's played such a big part of my life. Scotland and Scottish football. Obviously, my dad being from here, and I've spent probably most of my adult life living in Scotland. I've never lived in Edinburgh before, so I'm glad this week things have opened up a little bit and I've been able to experience the city a little bit more detail. But yeah, I've absolutely loved it. I knew there's another attractive reason for me to come back is to be a part of the Scottish football community and somewhere that I know well and enjoy the competitive and all the aspects of playing in this league.
Fantastic. Best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Jackson, have you got 2 years for tomorrow's match?
2 years, yeah. It's settled down a little bit, to be fair. I don't know if it's still a bit green and blue. I've looked a bit like Shrek for the last few days, but it's settled down a bit, thankfully. So I don't think I'll end up with one of them big rugby player cauliflower ears just yet.
What is it that actually happened? Because it looked like a really sore one. That's probably a bit of an understatement, but.
To be honest, I actually don't know. He caught me on my blind side. So I just went up for a header, and it's just one of those things that happens within games, I suppose. But I ran around for about 5 minutes hiding from the referee, so he didn't make me go and change my shirt in the 115th minute and leave the boys shorthanded, in a key moment.
No. Alex Gogic did that for you anyway, but I mean,
yeah.
But obviously, good bottle from the players last week as well. And penalties, do you think he's because obviously there's been talk of perhaps when you get to these big moments, can you handle it? But showed last week that more than capable.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, going 2-0 up and then losing it in the last few minutes could have turned the momentum entirely in their favour, and we could have gone on and lost the game, but we didn't crumble. We showed great character. We stayed in the game. We had chances in extra time as well that could have sealed it, and then in a penalty shootout, the confidence to step up and the individual character of the players that took the penalties. It's always a roll of the dice in a lot of ways, a penalty shootout, but the boys approached it with such a good mentality and technique, and sealed the game for us.
Jackson, how chuffed were you to get your first goal under your belt at the weekend? It's just a case of kicking on now, obviously. Stuart's got a couple of World Cup qualifiers at the beginning of June. You look forward to that and try and kick on and get yourself into the squad? Yeah,
absolutely. I was delighted to get my first goal. I've been waiting a while for it. I probably won't get an easier one as well, thankfully. So, and hopefully there'll be a few more for me before the end of the season. And, my goal contributions have probably been the one statistic that I don't think it's been quite a reflection of the way I've been playing, but sometimes, people look at that and think, oh, we've not been involved in goals. So it's nice to get the first goal out of the way. And on the international side of things, can't wait to get back involved with the squad and be a part of another World Cup qualifying campaign. It's been a long time coming. I think we played November 2019. It was the last game we had. So everybody's can't wait to get back together and start pushing towards that, ultimate goal of making it into another World Cup.
Just to pick up on what Brian was talking about, obviously this weekend a lot of the clubs are taking part in the media blackout and making a stand. As players in the dressing room, do you guys ever have conversations about messages or anything that you've maybe got and talk to each other and share any abuse you've got? Obviously you spent early days of your career at Celtic and whatnot. Has it ever been a conversation that comes up in the dressing room regularly?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's a key factor in in how you make changes is to continually have those difficult conversations. And that's what players here have been doing. I'm sure players up and down the country are having similar conversations in their dressing rooms, and that can only lead to more people feeling, maybe people who have suffered those abuses that have haven't said anything in the past will come forward. And especially on the mental health side of things, the more you open up and have those conversations, that can be really important for people to share those feelings. And in a dressing room that can sometimes be difficult, but all it can take is that that one conversation to maybe lift the lid on the way someone's feeling away from football, and can make a massive difference.
I touched on Celtic there. Obviously, the 2 Glasgow teams are out the cup so far this season. How fresh and good an opportunity is it for Hibs, for the other clubs, to go and get a cup competition this year, and that Scottish football's not just dominated by the 2 Glasgow clubs, that we've got all the other sides in the semi-finals?
Yeah, it's shown the competitive nature of the league and the quality that the clubs possess, that everyone on their day is capable of winning matches. Obviously, the 2 teams at the top have been out of both cup competitions, and that's that's not by chance. That's down to the quality of the opposition and how difficult they've made it during those games. So you have to approach every game with knowing that the threat the opposition carries, and that everybody will fancy themselves. Everybody will think that this is the best opportunity they'll have to go and lift a trophy. So you'll have to be at the top of your game and bring your own qualities to the table, and put a stop on theirs to make sure you're in there with a chance.
Cheers, Jackson. All the best for the weekend.
No worries. Thank you.
All good. I think that's our broadcast guys done. Okay. Moira, you right to kick off for the written section?
Yeah. Hi Jackson, how you doing?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm good, yeah, thanks. Obviously, building on last weekend, going into this one, big games are coming thick and fast, aren't they?
Yeah, that's where you want to be at this point of the season. Still so much to play for. As I said, the attitude, the tempo at training, the feeling around the place is overwhelmingly positive. We know we've got big things to look forward to, and big games to enjoy and be a part of. So feeling's really good amongst everyone at the club at the moment.
How important was Saturday, just in terms of the display of character, to come back to be, 2 up, looking really comfortable, clawed back, and then still have the wherewithal to come through it all? I mean, how important was that just for the mental boost going into the final few games now?
Yeah, huge. I think at any time when you have to overcome those kinds of adversities within a game, especially a cup game, where you know that if you let it slip, then that's you finished and that's your chance gone. So the fact that we managed to get yourself through, that's the most important thing in cup games, is getting yourself, is the result, and getting yourself through to the next round, and we managed to do that. But as you say, the way the players stood up, and especially in that half an hour of extra time, I thought was absolutely outstanding.
You were a lone figure when the final whistle went in that game. Was it just a case of collecting your thoughts before you came back across the group? Was it anger, frustration? What was going through your head at that point?
Yeah. I can be quite an emotional figure on the pitch sometimes, and I think having had the feeling, the kind of ecstatic feeling of scoring your first goal and going 2-0 up in the 80th minute, to then having felt like we threw it away in that 10 minutes. I think I needed just a few seconds before I came over to the group to let a bit of that anger out before you kind of collect yourself and get ready to go again for half an hour. So listen, it's just one of those moments where I think everything just boils over, and then you take a deep breath and reset and get ready to start playing again.
I suppose it shows how important the targets that you have set individually and collectively are, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the levels we expect from each other. I know if it was, I know a lot of boys are probably feeling the same way, and that's the standards we set. And when we fall short of those standards, you expect that there's going to be something said, and it was. But the most important thing was that calmness, that the composure to not let them get their tails up after scoring 2 late goals and go and blow us out the water in the last half hour. And we definitely didn't do that.
Right. Obviously, getting third place wrapped up this weekend would be good ahead of the the semi-final as well. It would just keep that feel-good factor going, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We're on a great run. Got to keep going. Got to keep pushing. With St Johnson have as well got so much to play for, on a good run themselves. So I'm looking forward to what will be an exciting game. And for ourselves as a group, I think it's just important to keep that good feeling going, keep that attitude and tempo in everything we do, the way we approach games, the way we approach every day at training. And that will hold us in good stead moving into tomorrow and the semi-final next weekend.
I know you've
That
got
character. Oh, sorry, carry on, Gad. You carry on, Darren.
I was going to say, I know you've got the semi-final to come next week, but obviously with Rangers being out, you guys are now seen as the favourites. That's, I suppose, a different pressure you guys are going to have to deal with as well now.
Yeah, people will say what they want from the outside. They'll say we're favourites. Obviously, St Johnson have already won a trophy this season, and having knocked out Rangers will fancy themselves as well. And it's going to be, every game is equally difficult. And as I said, we'll just be focusing on ourselves. Obviously, we'll look at the opposition, analyse and look at their threats as we always do. But the main focus will always be on us and the players in here, and try and block as much as we can from the outside, and just try and keep that composure and calmness within the group.
I suppose any of those the four teams left will think now we've got a right good chance of going all the way, won't they? They've all got that kind of hope with that result last week, the Rangers result.
Yeah, for sure. As I say, I think everyone will fancy themselves, and cup competitions, will constantly throw up upsets and results. But it's just about making sure that you focus on your own performance, and that's all you can. That's all the controllables, I suppose, the things that you're in control of. And for us, that's just the way we approach the game and prepare. And everyone's been bang at it this week, and we're in a really good place.
Jackson, you touched on your contract situation with the broadcast guys earlier. I mean, has your perspective changed over the past couple of months? I mean, I take it you were just coming up kind of on a short-term basis to get games and see what happened, but has seeing what the club's doing and the ambition and working with the guys, is there an attachment there, an obvious attachment there that maybe wasn't there a few weeks ago that's going to influence your decision when it comes to whether you stay on or not?
I like to think I have that attachment to every club I've played for. As I say, I'm quite a sentimental character, and when I go in somewhere, I go all in, and that's just the type of person I am, the type of player I am. And as you say, I've probably could see the emotion on my face during that. When the final whistle went on Saturday for extra time of what it means. I want to win games. I want to be a part of successful teams, and the conversations I've had with the manager, again, have been very much about focusing on the achievements that we still have to have this season before we kind of look any further ahead than that.
Jackson, you would have seen what Martin Boyle's all about in terms of the national team and obviously getting the call up there. But just working with him day in, day out, do you have a greater appreciation of his attributes now? I think that's 10 goals in the last 13 games. He's got 11 assists this season as well. He's certainly on form, isn't he?
He is. I like to think maybe me coming here maybe gave him a little bit of a boost as well. I feel like we've got a really good understanding, me and Boyle, and he's shown his levels of it since you've shown it all season, but in particular, as you say, of late, he's been very, very difficult to play against. He's had to play the variety of positions up front, off the right hand side as a wing back. He's got that those different attributes that he can bring to a game as well. But his raw pace is a problem for anyone, and just how clinical has been probably for us as a team. Probably what we've enjoyed the most is final ball, and when he's in front of goal, that ruthless edge, which has taken his game to kind of a different level of recent times.
When he joined up with the national team for the first time, correct me if I'm wrong if you weren't involved, but did he fit right in, and were the boys impressed with him right away?
Yeah, no, I was involved with Boyley's first camp and first games, and yeah, as I said, everyone was straight away could see that he brought something totally different to the squad, something that we don't really have. Someone really direct, a ball carrier, someone that can get you up the pitch, and when you're playing sometimes as we are against deeper line defenses and teams that like to sit on the edge of their own box, when you've got a player that can skip by a man, that 5 yards of explosive pace makes such a difference. And he'll be a big player for us going forward in the next, year, 18 months.
you guys have got a big summer ahead as well. Is it 4 World Cup qualifiers in sort of end of May, June as well?
Yeah, for 4 games in I think it's about 11 days or something like that. It's going to be a hectic summer for us, but as you say, we can't wait. We've had a long time away from the national team, and we're about to go into what will probably be our most difficult qualifying campaign of the last kind of 12, 15 years, and we're really looking forward to those challenges, and we'll be approaching them head on, and with the ultimate goal, as I say, of being on the plane to Qatar in 18 months' time.
You were saying to the broadcast guys that you've managed to get out and about and see a bit more of Edinburgh. What have you been doing, or where have you been going? What's impressed you?
Oh, just been, to be fair, I've been living in Leith, so I've spent a lot of time down by the shore in Leith, and further down to Portobello as well. But I've ventured into town a couple of times since the kind of shops have opened up, and my partner, who's never really spent any time in Scotland, she's from England, so went up and did a couple of the touristy things up in the city as well. So I've really enjoyed being here, and I used to come across during festival season when I lived in Glasgow all the time, and I'm glad that I'm going to get an opportunity, even just from this week, just to really get my claws into Edinburgh a little bit more.
It's been difficult with lockdown, but living in Leith, do you get a real sense of appreciation of the fans' expectations and hopes for the season when you bump into them?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's been overwhelmingly positive with me since I've been here, and the way the team's been doing. And yeah, it's been brilliant. So as you say, it's been probably the great disappointment of my time here. It's been not being able to play in front of the fans, and hopefully we can still give them big things to celebrate before the end of the season.
Okay, thanks. Jack, the next 8 days will play a huge part in what happens for Hibs this season. How are you all feeling about it, and how do you personally manage this next wee while?
Well, I think for us, we've had this for what feels like a long period, but I think the last few weeks for us has been really important. We've recognised the significance of winning league games and winning points in the league, and then because of the nature of the Scottish Cup this year, the games have become round very quickly. So there's been a lot of recent weeks that have felt like a significant part of the season, and I think that means that I can understand people will point to the added importance of the coming 8 days, as you've mentioned. But I think for us, we feel like we're used to it at the moment, and as performance levels have been good in that period, and that gives me comfort as well, that knowing that we're getting to such an important part of the season in a good place.
Yeah, the momentum is obviously a huge part, and you seem to be hitting it at the right time. Does that give you a lot of confidence?
Well, I think we've shown relatively good consistency over the season to get to the last 4 of all the cup competitions we've been involved in. I think to not come out the top 4 all season would point towards a good degree of consistency, but equally we've had spells where we've dipped a little bit, and then also we've had spells where, although we've picked up points, we've had to dig them out. But at the moment, I feel as if a lot of players individually are in good form, playing well, enjoying their football, look strong physically, and then subsequently as a team, I think we've been performing well also. So it's about maintaining that. We've set a really good standard of performance and post-international break in particular, and it's about maintaining that over this really important period.
Tomorrow, there's a chance to clinch 3rd place if the results go your way. What would that mean for you?
It would be big for us. I'm not going to play that down. I know that the some people's the prize at stake in terms of aspects of European qualification has altered somewhat. However, for us, when we set that target at the beginning, it was never really anything to do with that. It was about finishing in a position in the league that the club hasn't done so in, I think, 15, 16 years. So that was huge for us to try and get there. How you're perceived as a club then by finishing in that position. So it's been a massive driver for us all season. The playing group will tell you that. We've spoke about it constantly. We've pushed them constantly and prodded them to get there. And within touching distance of doing that, we've still got work to do to ensure we finish there. But it is a massive incentive for us to clinch that 3rd spot. As I said, it's been a big motivation for us all season.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sheila.
Jack, you say it's 15 years, I think, since this has been achieved by Hibs. What can you do to try and ensure that it's not another 15 years before you you finish at least third and possibly even higher than that, possibly go even higher than that.
I think for us, it's obviously naturally you're not surprised to hear me say is securing that first this season. But I think it's then when we get to the end of the season, is reflecting on the things that we think we've done well this season that have brought that type of performance and position, and then ensuring what we need to do to get better at some parts and then maintain that level of consistency. And I've spoke often about that's the long-term challenge for me, is to give us this type of performance and season year upon year. You know, something I think that the club needs to get better at, and that's what we're determined to try and do.
Clubs who are consistent normally have consistently got the same players. Clubs outside of Celtic and Rangers annually seem to be churning over players. That can't help a manager, does it? When your best players, and it's normally the best players who are sold at the end of a season, move on.
Yeah, I mean, it goes with the territory to an extent that naturally success or good periods come and will attract attention. And unless you're the biggest, then you always run the risk of losing players. And for us, we know that we will enter a period over the coming months whereby we have players that are subject to strong interest and attention because of how they've performed and their age and their potential, etc. So I think we've proven already in January that we made sensible decisions around what was best for the football club. And we'll have to do that again in the summer. Selfishly for me, I wouldn't like to lose any of them. I think I would love to have that same group and add little bits to it. But I'm realistic enough to know that I need to be prepared for every eventuality. So to achieve the level of consistency I've mentioned about how we finish in this type of position every single season or try and improve upon it, you want to keep that consistency of personnel within your group, ideally. But equally, I said that we need to be prepared for that not being the case. And I think, the club, in fairness to the owner and the board, I think they're committed to giving us the best possible chance of doing that. Again, sensibly. I don't think we can be silly about it as well.
Hibernian are, like all clubs in Scotland and organisations in Scotland this weekend, taking part in this social media blackout. We had another unsavoury incident last night in the game between Albion Rovers and Stennismuir. Without going into that at all, Jack, I was just talking to Jackson there. He says enough is enough now, and players are now starting to speak out. Has there always been some abuse there on the pitch, and hearing it from the stands? And is it now just it's gone too far? It's gone, way beyond what's acceptable to anybody in society.
I mean, yeah, it's always been there, Ryan. I don't want to reduce the significance of it. We've been flipping about it, but saying it's always been there, but it has. I think we it almost became part of our jobs to accept the abuse, and wrongly, because I think that what is not to blur the lines between criticism and abuse. I think that's the thing we need to get clear. There's undoubtedly things that happen within a football stadium that wouldn't be acceptable in any other walk of life or in the street. But I would also stress that I think it's important to recognise within the game that it is always the minority. There's a vast majority of people who love football and who go to football stadium who know how to behave properly. But I think going to the social media boycott this weekend, I've probably got quite a strong opinion on that I understand the reasoning behind us doing it as clubs and as organisations. But for me, it raises awareness, but the only way we will have any real action taken is if we're in a position where those platforms are regulated and people that come out with that regulation are punished. It's the only way it'll ever change, in my opinion. I think raising awareness of it and trying to educate people further is important. But until we make people accountable for using these platforms and then they are punished for behaviour that goes way beyond what is acceptable, I don't think it will make any difference. And that's something that is for powers way beyond me to look at. But I certainly think we need to get to that stage to ensure that some of the stuff that goes, some of the stuff's ridiculous. But if you are able to do that anonymously or without fear of punishment, losing your job, criminal record, whatever it may be, embarrassment, shame, then people will continue to do it. And that's where we really need to get to.
Can you see a situation, Jack, where organisations may actually just close down their accounts, their social media accounts, if there is no regulation? Individuals have already done.
I think it wouldn't surprise me, and it would also be a shame, because I think, you know, certainly I'm a little bit different generationally, that I'm not really an active user of social media. However, I recognise the importance of it in people's lives, and also recognise the influence it has professionally and across vocations, etc. And it can be brilliant in terms of the information that's available on it, the insight it gives you into people, the platform offers for opinion and debate, and also how it allows people a form of interaction that they might not always get from their social life or their own circumstances. So there's a great deal of positives from it, but at times it is a real vile platform as well. Some of the stuff I think that is articulated on it, and I'm not just referring to racial or religious abuse. You know, if you were to ask my players, some of the stuff that get sent to them at times referring to, you know, themselves or their families, etc., is way beyond the pale. And as I mentioned before, I genuinely think the only way to alter that type and to ensure that for all the people who use it positively is to ensure accountability and visibility, if you like, of the people that are using it.
Thanks, Jack.
Thanks, Brian.
Jack, both Old Firm clubs are out the Scottish Cup. How much has that opened it up for the rest?
It hasn't changed my opinion of it. It would be incredibly weak of us if we only believed we could win the competition if neither of those teams were in it. So for us, we spoke about winning a cup with all the teams involved in it from the beginning. So it hasn't altered our thought process in that respect. And also at the moment, we've not really given much thought to the semi-final because we've got such a big league game tomorrow.
Comfortable with being nominated as favourites now for the cup?
Again, pretty similar to the last answer. I've not really given any thought. It makes no difference to me whether we're favourites or rank outsiders. You know, our preparations for the night game when it comes along will be as consistent as it has been for all games this season. There's a massive motivation for us to get to a final. Irrespective again of how the two previous semis have went for us, we've got a group that want to put themselves in the history books of the club, as will the players of the three other clubs that remain in the competition. But no, I mean, don't really pay too much attention to how we're perceived going into the final two games, hopefully.
What have you made of tomorrow's opponents so far this season?
Well, Callum's enjoyed a fantastic season in his first full season as manager in his own right. I know a lot of Callum's players through my own coaching and management experiences and playing experiences, and it doesn't surprise me, one, with the players I have within the squad this season I've had, and also Callum is somebody that, similar age to me, comes from a similar part of the country. We did a pro licence together, and I think he's got really good attributes as a coach and manager as well. So I think that is a really good fit, and they've shown that in their level of performance this season. Already an outstanding season for them in terms of winning the League Cup and achieving that top 6 place, and obviously huge motivation for them to make that season even better. So enjoyed the games against them, probably with the exception of the second half at Hampden in the semi-final. I think that's the only game where I feel as if we've dipped way below our standards. The games have been competitive and difficult. They've made it difficult for us. I think we've made it difficult for them through those games as well, and they've been tight, with the exception of that period I mentioned earlier. So big match for us tomorrow, difficult match, but equally one that, as I said, as always, we believe we're more than capable of going to win it.
Last one from me. What's the team news? How's your squad?
Yes, obviously, spoke earlier in the week, Chris Cadden was out for the season now. He's a really small hairline fracture in his back, so it's a blow for us being out. Jamie Murphy returned to training yesterday and today. Tomorrow will come too soon for him, but all being well, will be available for the semi-final, which is a boost for us. And other than that, Sean Mackey remains out with a longer-term injury.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack, just to go back in the European football, and obviously there's potential going towards Christmas with that if you win the Scottish Cup, potentially with third place as well. But the financial boost that would give you, I think it would be well into 7 figures. I mean, given the year everybody's had, I mean, how much of a boost would that be to the club as a whole?
Well, it's something that, as a manager, I've been aware of because of the support that I've been given by the owner and the board, and then also the support we've been given as a club by the number that purchased season tickets and have continued to back the club, that our drive was to, from a sporting perspective, was to finish as high up the league as we could and win a cup. But I'm also aware of the revenue boost that gives the club in these times as well. So if I can play my part in assisting with us coming through this period in a good place by having on-pitch success, then I feel as if I'm doing my job even better. And thankfully, thus far, we're going in the right direction. We do that, we can make it even better. But already, I think we've produced enough on-pitch to bring increased revenue into the club, which is important, and certainly over the period that the club went through in the last 12, 13 months, it's nice for us as players and staff to play our part as well.
And just finally, you picked Matt Macy last week in goals. With off years contract situation and with how well Matt's played when he's been given the chance, is there a temptation there to sort of throw him in for some league games?
No, we'll continue as we have done as previous. We've managed the situation well. I think both goalkeepers are in good form and have played well. Both are training well. I think I mentioned in the lead up to the cup game, unfortunately, that I've got two really strong goalkeepers at the club. And we'll continue to make the decision we think is right for these games, each individual game as they come along.
And then just on goalies as well, Dabrowski signing his new deal this week. I mean, do you think he's obviously there till 2023? Is he potential to be your future number one as well?
Well, I think he has the potential and he has the attributes. He's still got a bit to learn and a bit to progress. And this, the early part of the season was brilliant for him. With him going out to Dumbarton and his performance level there was excellent. It was really, really good. Circumstances dictated we had to bring him back. Ideally, he would have continued to play a season out on loan, but his progression has been noticeable. So if he can continue to that upward trajectory, then he'll give himself every chance at playing for our first team. As I said, he's still got work to do, and we'll assess next season the best pathway for him to go and do that. But really pleased that another young player has chosen to commit himself to the club, and hopefully he'll show in the coming months and years that he's good enough to play, as I said, as our first choice goalkeeper.
Hi Jack, you've already touched on that, how tough a game it's going to be tomorrow. Obviously St Johnstone will be pushing Livingston for 5th and have won the last two meetings, but if all does go to plan, you get the 3 points, how much temptation is there going to be to check on the Aberdeen Livingston result?
Yeah, I think nowadays it's almost impossible not to know what's going on in other games. I think that the way people communicate, you find out information, but from my point of view, it's amazing how much you become immersed in your own game at that time. So, and it is about controlling the controllables for us, and that's about our performance and results. So we first and foremost know that if we go and win the game tomorrow, we'll be in an even better position than we are at the moment, because it's another game down towards the end of the season and we retain at minimum that points difference. So through the course of the whole game, for however long it lasts, it's about our game, and thereafter I think that certainly from my point of view I'd be aware of the result, but during the game as such I don't think it's a situation where we need to be kept up to date.
And if all does go to plan tomorrow, with thirds secured, we spoke about the academy prospects and interest from them down south. Could there be an opportunity for like Laidlaw and Bradley potentially get some minutes in the last couple of games if third was already secured?
Yeah, I think we would, depending on how the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season looks for us, we will use the squad accordingly. I think Ethan Laidlaw, I think people should get too carried away in that he's still very, very young and physically still very young, and Ethan hasn't really had much experience around the first team from a training point of view. But Stephen Bradley's one who's made really good progress through training with us this season. He's a bit older. Said often enough, he's the one I'm most excited about at the moment in terms of being able to make that next step. And we're hoping that, as you mentioned there, hoping that things progress in the right way for us over this next week that allows us to give him an opportunity to show what he can do on pitch.
Fantastic. Best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Jack, well done in getting through the semi-finals. Just to pick up what Gavin was saying there about younger players, how important is it that there's a pathway into the first team for the younger players in the squad?
Well, I think every club needs to show that it's there. I think every club speaks about it. And I think every club will try and sell themselves to the best young players by having that pathway, but the only way you can really prove it is by seeing it. And we feel as if we've currently done that. And Josh obviously grabs the headlines in that respect, but we can't ignore Ryan's pathway and the fact that this season is the first one that he's played consistently pretty much every week, and that's another step for him. So the fact that, for us to have those two in particular playing in our first team every week gives encouragement to others that are on the cusp of it. And then as you progress further down the academy, hopefully it incentivise people to continue to come to Hibs and send their children to Hibs, knowing that there is that pathway. And then for me, as we continue trying to progress that model of us attracting other young Scottish players to the club, believing we can make them better and give them that platform again to kick on like we did with Kevin, it all helps. As I said, and positive results help that pathway look as if it's working as well.
Obviously, this is a big week for the club. How do you keep a lid on, obviously, next weekend, Scottish Cup semi-final? Just a case of eyes firmly on the game against St Johnstone at the weekend and trying to get third place secured first?
Yeah, it's been pretty easy because I think that, first of all, the players are all in a really good place. As you would expect, I think when you're in the position we are in the league and you progress to another semi-final, there's a lot to be excited about as you get towards the end of the season. That allied to the fact that a lot of them, I think, feel as if they're playing well and feel good physically means that that kind of area of positivity is not, you don't have to create it, it's there and it's tangible. And then they have been really focused as a group all season. There's, this prize of finishing third or target of finishing third is something that we've been consistently on. So it's not like I've had to change anything in the message that we're giving the players. It's just a reinforcement of that and a reminder of it. And in fairness, it's a lot of the time it's I don't need to do it, but it just keeps us ticking over and making sure that from a standards point of view, we're continuing to hit them day in, day out.
All the best for the weekend.
Thank you.